going to be a better servant, steward. I'm going to be a better father, mother, daughter, son, student. Didn't happen that way. He was warned himself by the fire. He denies 3 times that he knows Jesus. Jesus warned him that this was going to happen. But he's telling Jesus, Jesus, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I love it when I tell my kids something, and they come back and say, or look at me and say, Dad, you know what you're talking about. And then a few weeks, months later, they come back and say, Dad, you did know what you were talking about. And every time I hear that, I feel good inside. You know why? Not because of them. Because every time I hear that, I think of all the times my daddy said the same thing to me. And I said, Daddy, you don't know what you're talking about. I got this. So every time I get a chance to do it, it's almost like, okay, I'm getting a chance to get back something I lost back then. Okay? One time Daniel did that. Daniel said, I mean, it was a biggie. He made a biggie. And he goes, okay, go ahead and say it. I said, say what? He says, you know. I said, no, I don't. He says, go ahead and say it, Dad. I said, say what? He said, now you know what I'm talking about. I said, no, Daniel, I'm talking about what you're talking about. He said, say it. I said, say what? He said, say it. He said, I told you so. I said, I don't need to say it, son. You just said it for me. You see, the problem was Peter in his pride. I mean, some of us, we don't realize it. I'm here to tell you something that's going to sound kind of weird, but sometimes we have something called false humility. Get ready. We think we're being humble. We think we're not rising up. We're being humble, not realizing the whole time that it's false humility. It's really pride. Somebody hurt us. Somebody kicked us. And we have one of those camels like we talked about last week come along and spit on us and step on us. And so, well, we're just going to be humble and sit back and just let things ride over, not realizing, no, that's false humility. Actually, it's pride. I got hurt. Guess what? I ain't going to get hurt again. I got slapped. Nope, ain't going to slap me again. You know, I was thinking about yesterday. Yesterday, I was on the way to the hospital. My mind's went blank. I was on the way to the hospital. All right. When I went to the hospital, my father-in-law just had hernia surgery. He's 83 years old. Just had hernia surgery. He calls me. I was doing my homework. I was trying to finish up my homework. And it's bad when you take psychology courses because now they're letting your own people, your other students, your classmates. I had to grade their paper, and they had to grade my paper. And I'm waiting for one person to grade my paper so I can go and fix it and present it again after I'm being graded by my own people, which kind of makes me think about living the Christian life. In a good way, not a bad way. All right, so my father-in-law calls me and says, can you talk to your brother for me? I don't have any hot water. I got a gas hot water. You don't have any hot water. Can you tell your brother I need some help? And my brother works for the gas company. I said, sure. So I called my brother. He says, we won't come in until Monday, and I won't be doing it. Somebody else will be doing it. I said, well, look, it's just going to be the pilot. My brother said, I'll tell you what, you go there, you call me up, and I'll walk you through it. I said, all right. So we go in there because he's got one of his fancy jobs. So I go in. And when I get there, now I'm on the way to the hospital, but I decided, but I'm not kidding. The Holy Spirit told me, he said, do not take a bath. Do not change clothes. Put on some nasty clothes. Not to go to the hospital, but to go to my father-in-law's. So I put on some old nasty clothes, and I get there, and my father-in-law's walking out in the front yard playing with a water hose and going on. I said, What's going on? Get in the house. You got to cut your side. Go get in the house. And I go, look. And I hear water running under the house. And so I walk around, and he says, yeah, I got a leak somewhere. I'm going to crawl under there sometime today. Just had hernia surgery. 83 years old. Going to climb under the house and look for a water leak. I said, no, you're not. You're going to sit in the swing. I'm going to take care of it. And I look, and I kid you not, because I stuck my hand in to check it. Water, the lowest water was this high. And sunspots have been that high. It had been running since wee hours in the morning. A steady stream. I said, well, there's electric stuff in there too. I don't know if I want to go in there or not. And all of a sudden, his dog come out from under there. I said, well, he didn't kill the dog. It won't kill me. Thank you, Lord. That was my canary in the mine. And so I told my father, I said, I'm going under. He says, you want a board? I said, no, I need a raft. And so I emptied my pockets. If I was going to penitentiary center, emptied my pockets. Took my shoes off, and I climbed under there. And thought I had everything pretty much going. And there was a bad connection, a bad pressure fitting, so I'm trying to fix the pressure fitting. I go back out. Long story short, I go to DC, who lives about a mile and a half away. I'm going to try to see if he's got a pump. Here's how God works, how great he is. I go to DC, he didn't even hear me pull up. Now I got my hair sticking out like this because my head had been laid in water. And I'm wet everywhere, and I got mud on me everywhere, mud on my face, mud everywhere. I got my shoes off, I'm barefoot. I got mud on my jeans. I come walking out of my car. I got a towel in my car so I can sit in my car. I come walking to DC and I'm going, look, and my pants are wet, so I'm doing like this. Look, look. DC turns around like I was the monster from the Black Lagoon. DC just jumped all back and went, oh gosh. And then he said, have you been fighting, Dad? Let me know I'm ready to go kick some hind parts. I said, no, I ain't been fighting, son. I said, I got a leak in my car. Can you fix it? And so, here's how God works. DC said, I don't have a pump. State patrolman who lives next door saw DC jump. He was on patrol, but he stopped by his house for a minute, and he saw DC jump. He come out and saw DC jump out and saw me look like a wild man, and he had a pump. He said, you can use my pump. Follow me, I'll go get it. So I wrote to Linton, don't worry about getting the pump. Here's what I sent back to my text. A state patrolman stopped me. He told me he had a pump, so I'm following him to go get a pump. When I come back, Linton says, I want to hear this story. But after we got all that water pumped out, still had little spots in it, that thing broke again. So my father-in-law had the good stuff, so I took the good stuff under there and fixed it. But this time it's even worse because the first time I was full of water, now I'm full of mud. And I thought about that thing. How many times are we willing to spiritually climb in the mud? Now, Bethany even said, you might want to get Daniel to do this because he's learned that commando training. I said, I don't need a commando, I need a plumber. I don't need more hole shot in. I need it fixed. Okay, but I started thinking about that thing. The Lord started speaking to me while I was under there. He said, how many wouldn't even go the first time? Then how many would go the second time after you started drying off and started getting a little bit of, feeling a little better? You know? And again, you see, Peter said, I'll never deny you. You don't have to worry about it. I'll take care of business. But you know something? Again, knowing your own limitations. If that's how I felt yesterday, that's my father-in-law with the cork, and that's me in the bottle. Okay. If Peter had taken Jesus' words to heart, the situation could have been so different. You see, maybe he would have stayed away from the courtyard. Maybe he would have stayed away from the fire. Maybe the slave girl would not have recognized him. But he says, I know what I'm doing, God. I got it. third time was saying, no, I don't know him. And it says he cursed. So what it said was, God, and the man said to the little girl, if I know him, let God strike me dead right now. That's what curse means. It means let it cuss at the Lord. And when that rooster crowed, you know what the rooster was saying? Not, "Rrr, rrr, rrr." The rooster was saying, no, you didn't know what you were doing. No, you didn't know what you were doing. No, you didn't know what you were doing. You see, anyone who thinks he stands, take heed lest he falls. Just pay attention. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't forget that we're all human. And we're all apt to sin. We're all apt to mistake. If anybody here does not think anybody here thinks they do not make any mistakes, watch it. Matter of fact, you know, there's a lot of folks that won't cut anybody else any slack. And what I find out when somebody won't cut anybody else any slack, you know what? They're really hard on themselves too. They really are. You don't know that, but they're hard on themselves too. And when they're hard on themselves, they're beating themselves up for something they've done in the past. And because they're beating themselves up for something they've done in the past, then they have everybody in their line of sight of, hey, you messed up. So watch. Know your limitations. Number 2. Come on, open that curtain. Number 2. Know your right from your wrong goals. If you're going to reset, if you're going to get yourself back in the game, if you're going to get back in there, know right from wrong goals. You see, the Jews determined not to eat until they had killed Paul. I think it's kind of funny because Paul was out, his goal was to destroy the church. His goal was to destroy Christians. There's no telling how many Christians lost their jobs, lost their families, lost their homes, lost their lives because of Paul. Because of Paul, some guys were put into Colosseums and were put between chariots and pulled apart. Because of Paul, some guys were put into Colosseums and had to fight the lions as the lions ate them. Paul caused a lot of pain and a lot of heartache. Because he didn't know the right from wrong goals. On the road to Damascus, God told him, you got to get your goals lined up. Number 2, now the Jews are coming after him. Kind of ironic, isn't it? You see, they said, we're not going to eat until we kill Paul. That's not a godly goal. That's not even the right goal. How many's ever said, I ought to give him a piece of my mind? Yeah, you got to have something to give. You can't afford that much, yeah. Or, I'm not going to rest until I make his day miserable. The craziest thing I've ever seen, it drives me crazy. I like to watch boxing. But the craziest thing I've ever seen is when they get in the ring and they're getting ready to box, they get to their corner, and those guys will do this. What are they saying? Lord, help me kill him?
Lord, spare me.
Or it could be, yeah. I've seen some of those guys, yeah, Lord, spare me. I actually met a Pittsburgh Steelers lineman years ago when I was a teenager. Biggest man I've ever seen in my life. And he said they fed him all grades of beef and stuff at training camps, and when they were going, they got him big. And said on his mouthpiece, he would write some crazy mess. And I'll just give you a simple G-rated one, because he gave me some mighty ones there. When he get on the line, he would take his teeth, and he'd open that big old mouth, that mouthpiece, and it would say, eat this. Man. You got to be sure. You got to rethink this thing. If you're going to reset, rethink it. So, how am I sure that my goal is right? Here it comes. Here it goes. Get ready. This is cool. Number 1, check your motive. Why am I doing this? Why? Am I doing this to please God? Am I doing this to please me? Am I doing this to bring glory to the kingdom, or am I doing this to bring glory to myself? Am I doing something that's going to actually, when it's over, people are going to look at it and say, you know, God,